So we have a really, really special moment for y'all tonight. I'm really excited to welcome Kate Barnhart to the event. I've invited Kate so that you all get the chance to hear from one of our partner organizations here in New York City that we're providing winter wear for. We've been providing winter garments that all of you have created for us for the past 3 years for New Alternatives. They were one of our first partner organizations here in the city. And so, Kate, I think I saw you somewhere in here. So if you can unmute yourself and say hi so you pop up on the screen for everyone, it would be lovely. Are you here, Kate?
Okay, there you go.
Hey,
Hi,
Kate, how are you?
I'm all right.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. I do have a couple questions for you, if you don't mind. I would love for you to folks first just tell us about yourself and a little bit about New Alternatives and what you do there.
Sure. New Alternatives is a multi-service drop-in center located in uh, Midtown Manhattan. And what we do is we provide a wide range of services on a walk-in basis because what we find is that young people who are homeless often don't manage to make it to appointments, and so then they don't get the service and the providers wind up frustrated, and so it just works a whole lot better for people to just be able to show up and get what they need. um, I think we're very deeply part of the harm reduction community, and this is a theory that I was around when it was developing during the AIDS epidemic, when harm
Mm,
reduction, getting out in the street and getting arrested, handing out clean needles. Um, I joined ACT UP New York in 1993. So you know, that kind of that kind of activist approach allows us to not get tied up in bureaucracy. We kind of see ourselves as, when I was a kid, my dad grew up in Massachusetts. There's some woods behind the house. Every year when we'd go up there, he'd cut down some trees to clear the path so you could walk in the woods. That's the work we do. We're just making a path for the young people so that they can go wherever they need to go.
mm. That's really, really powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us. And remind us, you are the executive director at New Alternatives. Is that
I'm the
right?
executive director. I'm also the founder. Yep.
Oh, great. Well, a good company, another founder. Yes, I
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
love that. Well, thanks for the work that you do, Kate. So you have been talking about some of the history of your work. And I read in an article that you had been working with at-risk youth for at least 25 years. So my first question for you is, or my second question for you is, why do you think it's important for there to be organizations that are specifically dedicated for LGBTQ plus youth?
There are a couple of reasons. One is that um, is the safety issue. In mixed organizations, young people can be vulnerable to homophobia or transphobia on both the staff and the other clients. I've
Mm,
hearing this, we've been getting a number of migrant clients from young people they left countries where you can't survive as an LGBT person. And they're
mm,
seeking asylum in the US. And unfortunately, they got mixed up in this big jumble of immigration and busing and crap, basically. And so we've got about 53 of them from everywhere from Uzbekistan to Senegal,
wow.
which has created some interesting times. But you know, what we find is that they're telling us stories about being in the migrant shelters with other people who fled from countries, but they fled for other reasons, and they brought their homophobia with them. And so, one of the things we've been trying to urge the city to do is to create a space just for LGBT migrants. Um,
Mm,
but with this mayor, it's a little slow going. But anyway,
mhm.
um, you know, I think it's also the LGBT youth have their own special needs that
Mhm.
staff have to be skilled in. I mean, we hired a psychiatrist. I think it's been a year now, and because first of all, there's a shortage of mental health services out there in general, and
Right.
then there's a shortage of psychiatrists who can handle, you know, LGBT issues plus BIPOC issues, plus homeless issues. So,
Hmm.
by the time all that came together, we just needed to hire um, you know, our own psychiatrist. And, what the benefit there is he, as a gay man, brings to the table some experience that helps him connect to the young people. These are young people who have a lot of trauma. They have real trust issues, and they're not easy to connect with. And we kind of specialize in the folks who are considered difficult. I hate that. And
Mm.
but they're the people who've been kicked out of a lot of programs because of their challenging behaviors or
Right.
things like that. And so, you know, we have to work a little harder to reach those folks. And I think that it's really important that, I mean, most of my staff are people with lived experience. They're people who were clients 20 years ago. And I
Mm.
think, it's really important that, first of all, the current clients can look at them and see it is possible. It is possible to survive this. It is possible to get housing. It is possible to go to college, you know. But it's also really important that my staff can spot what's going on with people because they were there.
Mm.
You
Hmm.
know, it's useful both for the security staff who
Right.
are we're like, what's going on in that bathroom? But it's also it's also useful for our staff who work on housing and other issues because they can spot when somebody is sort of freaking out about, like, for instance, I have a staff member who's been living with HIV for a long time, and when we have people who are newly diagnosed and freaking out about it, she'll just self-disclose and be like, hey,
Right.
so that's what being an LGBT specific space gives us.
Wow, wow, wow. You're giving us some really, really important information. So my next question for you was about the fact that you often hire folks who were clients of yours before. And you talked about it a little bit, but is there any other reason why you personally find it really important that you are able to hire folks who used to be clients outside of the benefit they can provide to current clients?
Sure. I mean, I think for me, it's a matter of putting your money where your mouth is because,
Mm.
I always talk about the discrimination that our young people face in the employment arena, partly because of their gender and sexuality, but also partly because many of them had their education interrupted. Like when you're running for your life, you don't, stop and do your homework or,
Right.
things like that. So, and in addition to, and I mean, I remember I had a young man who, was living in the men's shelter, and he had his pile of quite expensive textbooks that one of our donors bought him,
Mm.
and somebody stole them, and that's just, that kind of thing is not unusual. So, um, then they also often don't have experience. And it's also one of those things, how do you get experience if no one will hire you kind of situation.
Right. Right.
So, all these things come together in a way. And then also some of our clients I consider our staff positions here supported employment because,
Hmm.
you know, these are folks who will probably always have lingering pieces of trauma and need a little extra support or a little bit of extra flexibility at times. And
Right.
since I'm
Right.
in a position to do it, I might as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's really powerful work. The cycle that you have going is so important, and I can only imagine the impact that you're making on those folks that are clients of yours. So thank you for doing that really, really amazing work. I can see it looks like you're in your office right now, and it's
I am.
almost 8 p.m. So and for those of us in nonprofits, we know that the work is 24/7, especially I'm sure with a nonprofit like yours. So thank you, thank you, thank you for continuing to push and to fight for these young people. Um, so my last question for you is, a lot of folks at the Rainbow ask me if I've ever heard from folks who've gotten garments from us, or if I've ever gotten to meet anyone who's gotten garments from us. And as you know, most of what we do is we will take the garments and then we'll just drop them off with staff at the
Mhm.
organization. So I probably actually met some of those prior clients
Oh
that are
yeah.
working as staff who they've always been so welcoming to me when I bring garments. And so are you able to paint kind of a picture for some of our volunteers here about what the impact might be that these winter garments have on some of the youth that are your client services?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we give out our donated items on Sundays because that's our biggest day. You know, a lot of the other programs are closed on Sundays, so we get everybody's clients coming for dinner, and we have a big Sunday dinner.
Mm,
So we put out the clothing on those days, and when we have the bins and boxes from you guys, there's always like, you know, a lot of excitement. People want to like plow through it and try
right.
things on and, you know, spin around, you know. And, you know, it's always, I mean, you know, the young people, you know, they have a certain, you know, they try very hard not to look homeless, to not meet
Mm,
that stereotype. And so having, you know, nice clothes or clothes that are like, you know, carefully made and not just thrown together, it,
mm.
you know, it's important to them. And it's interesting too. I mean, you know, you I can pretty much tell you which one is going to go for the rainbow scarf, and you know, and then there are the purple people, right, who go.
Right,
Then
right.
but the other thing is, you know, we get clients who will, you know, be standing there with, say, a hat in their hands and being really quiet. And you say to them, "Hey, what's up?" And they're like, you know, "This reminds me of my grandmother. And if she was here, I wouldn't be
Mm,
homeless," you know.
yeah. Oh wow. I never realized that other impact there. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. Thank you so much for being here and for giving our volunteers just a little clue on what it's like when what the work that you do and the work that you're leading and the long history of amazing work that you've done over your lifetime and that you're still doing, sitting there in your office at 8 p.m. Doing the hard work that has to be done. We love you from the Rainbow. We're so proud to be a partner of yours. It gives us so much joy and so much love to be able to come down to your location and drop off stuff for you and to meet a few of the staff there and pass off boxes. It's always a really awesome experience. So thank you so much. I see tons of thanks coming in from the chat as well. So thank you all for sending in your thanks and love as well. Kate, anything you want to leave us with? Is there any final word? How can we support new alternatives, both as the Rainbow or as individuals who
Yeah.
are here in the room? You know, share with us.
Yeah. I mean, I just think, especially with the presidential election coming up, we
Hmm.
all need to vote very thoughtfully and think hard about who you're voting for and what they're going to mean for the homeless. You know,
Mm,
we, I would say, made a rather large mistake in our mayoral election in terms of homeless policy.
hmm.
I'll start with that.
Yep.
And it's just really important that everybody, you know, maintain some awareness that we're in a huge crisis here in New York City. We have a
Hmm.
hundred thousand homeless people in New York City. We have one of every 9 public school children is housing insecure. And
Wow.
so we need to elect people who are going to really address that issue.
Thank you, Kate. Super important message. Y'all better vote. That's all I'm gonna say. But vote, vote, vote. Thank you so much, Kate, for joining us tonight. Such a treat for all of us to hear from you. So thank you so much. Have a great night. And we'll see you soon.